Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation on Ask Me Anything, this community on focused purely on MSMEs. The MSMEs are far more focused on what's immediately required for them to do and amazingly good at what they need to do on immediate basis. But in this rush, they often tend to miss out some of the important things. And one of those important things, which is the most neglected, is something called as a compliance. MSME founders particularly are not at all fond of this particular word and have often been seen neglecting this particular things and then ending up paying huge amount of penalties or trying to manage the things all the time. So if you don't really want to get into that manage mode and you want to remain compliant and you want to be sure about your ability to grow at each level and your ability to expand without any legal hassles at any point in time in future, you need to listen to this conversation and need to listen to Anuhya, who has been helping multiple companies manage their compliances very, very effectively. Anuhya, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us for this conversation.
Thank you, Charu, for inviting me on this platform. Happy to help.
Thank you. Anuhya, we would like to start understanding by first is what has been your journey so far?
My journey, starts from Goa. I'm born and brought up from Goa. I completed my education from Goa University, completed my law. When I was pursuing law, I got the opportunity to work in the assembly, Goa Legislative Assembly, wherein I met Mr. Ullman, who guided me, to pursue this company secretary course. And he was the man behind, pushing me to complete this course and get the degree along with the LLP. Then post completion my law degree, I shifted to Mumbai, wherein I practiced law. Okay, and once I got my degree of company secretary and got the practicing secretaryship, and I started my journey as a company secretary.
Okay, so first thing, let's start with a very fundamental question: why should a company be compliant?
Why should a company be compliant? Okay. So I always say, if you want to know the importance of compliance, try non-compliance. The company should be compliant, once the company is compliant, it will help the company to, avoid the fines, penalties, which are huge as compared to compliance cost. If you compare the cost of compliance with the cost of non-compliance, the cost of non-compliance will be at a higher side. That's the reason why I always advise clients to, go for compliance. There are few mandatory compliance, statutory compliances, and few are event-based compliances.
Okay. So is there some kind of a compliance calendar that you can share with us?
Sure. Okay, there are two different type of entities. Okay, two different type of act: Limited Liability Act and the Companies Act. Okay, there are different form which we have to file post the incorporations. Now I will divide this compliance or the calendar with respect to LLPs and private limited companies. So once the LLP is formed, once you receive the certificate of incorporation, that's not the end of the process. You have to file your agreement, LLP agreement, within 30 days of your incorporation. Once that is done and you complete the financial year, from the end of the financial year, you have to file two forms, okay, that are called Form 8 and Form 11. So there is a different due date for these forms. Form 11 is filed within 30th May is the last day for filing the Form 11, and Form 8 is 30th October. Once you finalize your balance sheet, financial statement, you have to file this form. And along with this, we have to, do the KYCs of the directors or the designated partner. This is for the LLP. I'm just talking about the ROC compliance. I'm not talking about the income tax or GST part. Okay, that is fine, right, Charu?
Absolutely.
Okay. So now I'm talking about the private limited companies. The private limited companies, once it is incorporated, you receive the certificate of incorporation. Within 30 days, you have to hold the board meetings. Okay, you have to file Form 20A, okay, within 180 days. The attachment will be filing the financial statement, okay, wherein it is a proof showing that the shares which has been subscribed, the share subscription money has been received by the company in the name of the company, and also the register office photograph. Okay, the once you file this 20A form immediately after incorporation, then the other post incorporation compliances begins. The post incorporation compliances are what? Once you finish, once the financial year ends, there are various forms which you have to file. There are annual forms, such as, if you are you have taken secured or unsecured loan, you have to file form DPT3. Then when your financial statement is ready, you have to file certain forms such as AOC4, MGT7. There are various deadlines for this. The form which I said, DPT3, the deadline is 30th of June. AOC4 is to be filed within 30 days from the AGM. Okay, and the AGM last date is 30th of September, because the AGM for any company have to be hold within 6 months of its financial closure date. Then comes various MSMEs form which are filed half yearly. These are few mandatory form which has to be filed. Even the auditor appointment has to be informed to the registrar of company by filing the ADT1, which has to be filed within 15 days from the date of holding the annual general meeting. These are some of the mandatory forms which I am talking about. If the company is having a foreign direct investment, then there are certain FEMA compliances which also have to be done, such as FLA. The form FLA have to be filed on or before 15th of July. I hope this is helpful.
Absolutely. Now the questions which are coming in, and Aman has started asking this particular question, which is very pertinent to the startup. They are saying that for a startup, navigating through a compliance is a typically a huge challenge. They don't really want to get in this particular part, or they need a simplified assessment on this part. So when a company starts, is there a way that they can, is there an easier way for them to manage the compliances? What would you guide when a company is starting?
Okay. Whenever any company is incorporated or registered, now the compliance form which I have listed out, these are like, there are certain due dates which they have to maintain the calendar of it. Now, see, there are few forms which have to be filed mandatorily. These are called mandatory forms, annual forms. Okay, once if the companies are maintaining the calendar, how we remember the birth dates or wedding anniversaries, in the same way, if we can add this also, if we are the promoter or a MSMEs, see these MSMEs, there are no such other compliance officer who is appointed to look after the compliance part. Only the promoters or the directors only look after everything at the startup stage. So it is better, you incorporate this due dates. Once you understand, you communicate with your professional, take a guidance. Once the post incorporation, have a meeting with the professional, get the guidance on the due dates and what are the deadlines, jot it down in your calendar, and I think that will be helpful. And whoever professional you are appointing, he is there to send the mails the way we handle the these small companies.
Sure. The Aman is following up with a question that, in your experience, what specific compliance areas should the startup focus to ensure that to ensure sustainable growth without feeling overwhelmed?
See, I'm talking about the ROC compliance from the point of view of ROC. So mandatory forms, once you are, see what happened, for example, before this, I will answer this question. First, I need to tell you one thing. This in 2017, many of the companies were struck off. Okay. Till date now, people were aware of, the promoters or the owners of the companies were aware of only the income tax filing. Okay. Whenever we used to ask, have you done the filing? तो वो बोलते थे हाँ हाँ मैडम filing तो हो गया है. Then we used to ask, कौन सा फाइलिंग हो गया? The income tax. There is also the other department which is called the registrar of companies. There also we have to file certain form they were not aware of. Okay, and this all non-compliance happened because of the because they were not aware of the aware compliance part. So now there are certain see, there are around 5 to 6 forms which have to be filed. Okay, KYCs, AOC4, ADT1, MGT7, DPT3, MSME. Okay, these are the mandatory forms which have to be filed. And that deadlines, these are to be mandatory filed, because if suppose these are not filed, there will be additional fees. And if suppose you don't file for next 2 years, your company will be struck off, because you will receive notice from the registrar of company for striking off of company.
Okay. Aisha has a question that could you highlight a few common misconceptions people have about compliances?
Okay, misconception. Misconception is the most misconception which people are having, is that, compliance is, very expensive, because people are not approaching the professional, or not taking any guidance of the professional, saying they will charge heavy fees and all. Okay, this is I will advise the MSME entrepreneur, before taking any of the decisions with respect to your company or expansion, or, restructuring of company or anything. It is better you should approach the professional who will guide you whether that restructuring is favorable for your business in the long run or not.
Okay. Rashi is a pretty interesting question. For someone new to compliance, what advice would you give to help them get started?
I will say, follow the calendar. If you are incorporated the entity, okay, follow the calendar. If suppose you don't want to follow the calendar, you can approach me. Because my team is always there, to push the promoters or the entrepreneur to complete the compliance on deadline.
Sure. Aditi has a question that we often hear about the impact of non-compliance on businesses.
Hmm.
Could you share any real-life stories where companies faced serious consequences due to overlooking compliances?
Yes. One of my client, okay, I wanted to share this story. So, I always used to, once the financial year ends, I used to send a mail this is the practice also. Now also, this has been a practice which we follow. We always send a mail once the financial year ends, 31st March. We send in the month of April one mail saying these are the compliance which you have to carry it out, and these are the due dates. These are the document which you need to share with us. Okay, तो once he called me and said कि मैडम मेरे कंपनी में तो कुछ बिजनेस होता नहीं है. Okay, there is only one property in my company's name. That is the reason why I am मैं चला रहा हूँ ये कंपनी. Okay, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर बिजनेस करेंगे ना, then only this compliance kicks in. Otherwise, these are not applicable. आई सेड, मैंने उनको बहुत समझाया, ऐसा नहीं है कि whether you do business or you don't do business, compliance is a must. Once your entity is incorporated, you receive a certificate of incorporation number, CIN number. Your company is reflected on the master data as an active company. You have to file the returns. Whether you do business, you don't do business, or whatever you do. Okay. But बंदा माना नहीं. I said okay. तो आई टोल्ड हिम कि देखो, अगर कुछ नोटिस आएगा या नॉन कंप्लायंस कुछ भी होता है, देन आई एम नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिबल. Then after, he audited his accounts, he filed the income tax return and all. For some other work, he approached me. तो I asked him कि अरे वो फाइलिंग हो गया क्या? So he said, नहीं, आप ही करते हो ना. I said, I have sent you certain documents. You didn't reply, and that time you said कि ये compliance जरूरत नहीं है. तो देन ही सेड, अरे नहीं मैडम, तो फिर वो करना पड़ेगा, इट इज लाइक, देन नाउ यू हैव टू पे द पेनल्टीज. So he said, okay, I'm ready to pay the penalty. How much it will be? 1,000 rupees? I said, not 1,000. The form which he was liable to pay 600 rupees, he have to pay exactly 87,000. So, Now you can compare the cost of compliance with the cost of non-compliance or filing the forms late. I hope this is helpful. This example, Charu.
Absolutely. Now, Jenny Matthews has a question. Are there industry-specific compliance nuances that businesses need to be mindful of?
Industry specific compliances are I think related to, if suppose pharmaceutical company, then I'm not aware of most of, I'm just practicing mostly related to, Companies Act, Registrar of Companies and FEMA. But I'm aware of that if you are in a particular industry, you have to, get the license and you have to report or renew the license and pay the license fees and all. Sorry.
Sure. Uh, there is a follow-up question also from Aditi. How does this highlight the critical need for a strong and reliable compliance strategy?
Pardon, I didn't get.
How the example that you had shared, how does it highlight the need for strong and reliable compliance strategy?
See, if suppose you the example which I shared,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
If suppose some person have incorporated the company, okay,
Yeah.
and if they have not filed the returns, okay,
Yes.
what my client's approach was, uh, he is not carrying any business at that time, okay, only
Yeah.
the property was in that name, in the company's name, okay. If suppose he will not file the returns for next 3 years, okay, automatically the registrar of companies will issue the notice for non-filing of return and will struck off the company, okay.
Yes.
When the company's existence is not there, who will be the owner of that property? I
Oh,
am, you got,
yes.
hope I am clear on this. So there is
Absolutely.
no
Crystal
owner
clear.
for, even if he want to sell that property or transfer that property, there has to be certain owner who will execute the document. The company itself is not in existence. Okay. So for that, he have to approach the NCLT for revival of company and then file the return, then file the penalties. So that is the reason why I explained that example and saying in that company, the property was there. If there is
Okay.
nothing and person is not doing business and if he is not interested, then you don't do compliance. Let the ROC struck off the company and enjoy that.
Awesome. That's the biggest price that you can pay even after creating that property and asset, and then you are
Yeah.
letting it go just because you are not maintaining a compliance.
Yes, see, for when the in 2017-18, when ROC struck off most of the companies, at that time, many of the client approach us for revival, getting the revival order. Okay, the revival order, why, they were having a huge sum of money in their bank account because the bank account
Right.
was freezed. Okay, there was a huge amount in bank account, FDs was there, properties in the company's name. That is the reason. This is the importance of compliance and filing the returns with the ROCs.
Agree. Siddhi has a question. In your experience, what role does technology play in streamlining and enhancing the compliance processes?
Technology will help you, if suppose you will help you to know the due dates and all, and compliance will be easy. There will be pamphlets and all. There will be drafts ready. You just have to make the changes and all. That's And
Great.
nowadays, all the compliance is online. So, that has
Yes.
helped us a lot because we don't have to go and approach ROC or RD. We just have to sit in our office and file the forms.
Absolutely. Shyam Mukund has a question. For businesses operating globally, what are the challenges and best practices in navigating international compliances?
Okay, so if you have entities in overseas, we have to comply with their laws and also the FEMA regulation over here. If the investment is individual investment, then the FEMA compliance also comes in, but there will be no ROC compliance. But if suppose your entity is having a the entity is holding a shares, then here in India also you have to file the returns and you have to do certain reporting.
Yes, Aniket has a very broader question. He wants to understand how does the landscape of compliance has changed over past decade, and what trends do you see in future?
See, nowadays people are more aware of the compliances. Okay, earlier people were not so much aware of Registrar of Companies compliances or FEMA compliances. And people earlier, the people wanted even don't want to know the importance or what compliance need to be done. Nowadays, even the entrepreneur want to know the what are the compliance which they have to do. Uh, what will be the repercussion or the impact on their business and all. This is the changes which are in this last 10 plus years of practice which I am seeing. Earlier, someone used to come and say कि madam हम लोगों को company incorporate करना है. Nowadays people approach us and ask us कि which entity we need to. There are OPC, private limited company, LLPs. Okay, what is your advice? How we should restructure or structure the company? Okay, there has to be only the equity or preferential or debenture. Now people before incorporation they are seeking advice on deciding the structure. This was not earlier used to happen. People used to come, उनको सिर्फ एक ही था कि I want to be a director of some company, or a promoter, director or promoter, shareholder of some company, and my visiting card should contain that MD or CEO or CO. That's it.
Very true. Shantanu is bringing in further on technology. He wants to understand, given the increasing focus on cybersecurity and data privacy, what steps should business take to ensure compliances in these areas?
In the area of data privacy and cybersecurity.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not, I don't have
Okay. So
much information or knowledge on this topic.
okay, so Shantanu, you would find that Anuhya is extremely cautious and proactive about the fact that she would be
So, yeah.
caring about and not venturing on the other areas. But if I need to look at this particular part on this thing, what I see, Shantanu, here is that there is a lot of, we already have the GDPR guidelines in place. I think we also have the data protection policy, which is being implemented. Currently, these policies are being implemented using different frameworks compared to the standard compliance frameworks. So the first thing that we need to be very clear about when you're launching a business, if you're already an online business or you intend to be online, then there are very critical guidelines that you need to look for. You may also like to look at another conversation that we had with Ahlad on the same platform, wherein Ahlad had explained about particularly why it is important for companies to get their policies right. And he talks about data privacy in that particular conversation. That is one. On the cyber security, you would have a specific conversation coming in the month of January. We will discuss very specific things on the cyber security part. But generally speaking, at this point in time, you need to be absolutely clear about two things. One is the data that you are currently incurring. The antivirus or even the anti-malware is the one which is being done. And secondly, in terms of hosting, you can always go with a secure hosting platform to ensure that your data is protected. So that's the basic thing with which you can start.
Yeah, I think one
Yeah.
thing to add here is you need to have a proper data privacy policy in place. That's the reason why I didn't answer. You need to draft the proper data privacy policy.
Yeah. Although she's a lawyer, believe me, she will not basically open up on anything beyond secretary. Very tough to get answers from Anuhya. Okay. Gayatri has a very good question. In your experience, how does a strong compliance framework contribute to overall business success?
Okay. Strong compliance to overall business success.
Success, yes.
Success. See, once compliance is not, the entrepreneur should not do the compliance only because the government is saying, or the statute is mandating something. Okay, you have to look from the other point of view. Once the important the compliant company and non-compliant company. Okay, it's image from the point of view of public, their vendors, okay, government as such, also the employees. There is most a reputation is involved. Once the company is compliant, the reputation is there, you know. uh, and there is also, if suppose some investor approach you, if he is interested in your project or in your product, okay, the companies which are more compliant have a, higher weightage or more bargaining power, or more controlling approach in, negotiating the terms than the company which are less compliant. When someone is interested in your project and he will conduct the due diligence on your company, and he will come with the list of non-compliance, what will be the impact? I just
True.
wanted the entrepreneur, this MSMEs entrepreneur, to understand the compliance from this angle.
Sure. Sahil wants to understand if there are any specific tools or resources that are particularly helpful in staying on the top of ever evolving compliance landscape. Any tools or resources that you would like to recommend?
There are many tools, or even the compliance calendars are also available, which you can buy or subscribe for. We as a professional, we don't follow any tools because, see, our memory, or that's the tools, because we have to keep track of all the due dates and deadlines, and our mails are the tools for our clients. But
Sure.
there are tools available online. One can, subscribe for that.
Sure. Now I want to ask a very important question. When should you start being compliant?
When Before registering the company, you should start doing compliance. The first and the foremost, get the founders agreement or share purchase agreement drafted from a good lawyer, wherein you can point it out all the points, who will be holding how many shares, what will be whose role, who will be handling, front end, back end, finance, administration, marketing. Okay, and along with that, the exit. Okay, most of our clients which don't draft this founders agreement, they are facing the problem at the time of exit. Okay, so one has to understand the compliance. Okay, from at the time when they, the thoughts come. Okay, in some entrepreneurs' mind, he wish to incorporate LLP or the private limited company. And if suppose there are two friends or even the family members, the agreement is a must. Actual mandatory compliance starts once you receive the certificate of incorporation. Okay, once you receive the certificate of incorporation, you have to file various forms at each and every level. So these are related to filing the forms. Okay, there are other statutory compliances also, like holding of board meeting. So within 30 days of getting the certificate of incorporation, you have to hold the first board meeting. Okay, and in which you have to note it down various activities. You have to get the approval of preliminary expenses which you have incorporated while incorporating a company. And there are various, once the financial year end, there are various compliances kicks in, where filing of various forms kicks in.
Sure. So this is when they need to start. Now, what should they do? How much of compliances can they manage on their own? And at what point in time they need to seek professional help?
They should, at the initial stage itself, they should approach the professional. Okay. Why I'm telling you? Because the professional is the proper person to guide them. Okay. Proper guide them, and with a practical approach, he can guide them. Which structure to follow. Okay. When to do what. Okay. Whom to appoint when. whether executive, non-executive, what designation to be, taken by the directors. These are the, these are critical and a practical. अभी किसी को लगता होगा ये छोटा छोटा है, not so important, but it is better you consult the professional. It is very difficult to maintain the compliance now by his own.
Totally agree. Now, the bigger question is that for somebody who has not done anything so far, or has been only that income tax return wala mode, right? Where he should start now?
मतलब he has a
Where
company.
he or she can start now? Here, assuming that the entrepreneur has been just filing the income tax returns and nothing else.
He has incorporated the company in this
Incorporated
example.
a company, but done nothing beyond the.
How many years have passed? That will be my
Could be
first
anything.
question.
That about 3 years.
Acha, 3 years. I will first go and check whether the company is active or it is already gone. Okay, then I will then put the CIN and check what are the additional fees which are applicable, which will runs in the in lakhs. Then here first you have to get the annual forms filed first and foremost. If suppose he has not done anything, go and file first the annual forms AOC for MGT7. If auditor is also not appointed, first file ADT1, then AOC for MGT7. If there are borrowings, then file that other forms also.
So if not done correctly right from the beginning, the cost of compliance only keeps on growing exponentially.
Yeah, because if suppose that forms, annual forms, if are filed within a due date, there are less fees. For example, if suppose your company's capital is 1 lakh rupees, okay, so the filing fees are 300 rupees. If suppose capital is between 1 lakh and 5 lakh, the filing fees are 300 rupees. For example, in a year, you have to file 3 or 4 forms. How many, what will be the amount? As compared to if suppose you file after the due dates, then the additional 100 rupees per form, and that that addition will goes on, it will not, the clock will not stop.
So in compared to 300 rupees, it is 100 rupees per day.
Yeah, 100 rupees per day.
Oh my God. Now here in Anuhya, there is also a very significant thing which is happening. What I have seen a lot of times is people who reach out to the MSMEs also train them कि सर आप देख लो बाद में कुछ होगा तो हम मैनेज करेंगे.
हाँ वो तो है, मतलब even that I also follow, मतलब I also face.
So when you face this kind of a people, right, who go and then tell you that कि हमने तो देख लिया and बाद में when the situation comes, they will raise your hands. तो अपना हाथ खड़ा करिए, not they will raise their hands and then leave it to you, and then you will have to basically go and raise your hand and then surrender and then pay all the fines. What is the best way? What is the way in which these particular companies can reach out? What is the right way for them to seek help? A lot of them are very small businesses. They may have incorporated the company just as a passion and could have been building it up over a period of time. So the focus genuinely remains a lot more onto the business and managing the operations, stabilizing survival compared to compliance.
See here
Right?
now, here I will only advise one thing. Whenever that thought comes in your mind to कि चलो मुझे एक कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट करनी है या LLP इनकॉर्पोरेट करनी है, तो जस्ट थिंक 5 years डाउन द लाइन कि क्या होगा, व्हाट इज योर बिजनेस प्लान्स, ठीक हो, ओके, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली यू make a choice whether to go for LLP or private limited company. Because for LLPs, even if that project is not successful, then for closing down LLP, it is easy from the point of view of process and also the cost involved. But
Yes.
if you want to close down the private limited company, it is bit costlier because one-time fees for that form itself is 10,000 rupees. Okay. So before, incorporating or registering or any entity, it is better you understand the compliance cost from the you approach any professional. You tell him that I wish to, do this business under this entity. My object is this. what you think will be your advice. Okay, then that professional practically will, make you understand what are the compliance cost involved, what you need to follow. There are income tax, GST, this, that. There are lots of compliance costs which are involved. If suppose you think you at that stage you are not in a position or to figure it out, or save certain amount to spend on as a compliance cost, be it 0.5%, yeah, 1%, then you just continue your business as a sole proprietorship. Okay, or so, and then register once you are sure about your business.
That is amazing insight, Anuhya. Thank you so much for clarifying this particular point to everyone. I think everyone who is listening to this particular conversation should remember this particular point. And this is what Anuhya has very candidly shared, that if you really wanted to get that longer journey, please start on the right note. If you are not sure about that particular part, please take your time, buy your time, get your idea and concept clear. But once you are sure with that, then you need to go ahead, and you need to go ahead only in the compliant way. There is no other way. If you want to realize the fruits of all your endeavors, and you want to ensure that you earn something at the end of the amazing effort that you are going to put in to bring your experience, your expertise, and your sweat into your business and create something meaningful for everyone around you, it's important for you to be absolutely compliant right from the day one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That thought,
Thank,
compliance.
yeah.
Yeah, compliance, is not the entrepreneur or the promoter's approach towards compliance should be not ki I have to do compliance because the government is saying or statute is saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, the government also need to see the approach towards the compliance is not, sometimes what happen, compliance is not communicated properly. Whenever a person incorporate companies or LLP, the compliance part is not told to him. Ki, once you incorporate the entity, that is not the end of the episode. There are, post incorporations cost which are involved. If you file the IT return, is not the end of the episode. You have to file the ROC return. If you are FDI, foreign direct investment is involved, you have to file the FEMA compliant. And FEMA is more stringent, they are more hard than the registrar of companies or Ministry of Corporate Affairs. That is what I have to convey now to the entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much for these amazing insights, Anuya. I hope everybody is far more richer in terms of their understanding of compliances after this conversation. If you have any doubts around, you can always reach out to Anuya on LinkedIn. She would be happy to help you with your queries. Thank you so much once again, Anuya, for your time today.
Thank you, Charudatta. Thank you. Thank you all the participants. Hope whatever knowledge I have shared is helpful for them in taking decision. Thank you. Thank you very much. Gratitude.